In this lunchtime news broadcast, we bring you the latest news, both local and international, ranging from current affairs, community stories, sports and economic news. Here are the news headlines. Race heats up for Development Bank of Namibia top job. Geingob tackles unemployment by expanding civil service. 1,300 Namibians seek UK refuge. I am Diana Master and this is MMH at 1 midday news coming right up. In today's midday news update, the Oneuptwo municipality, alongside its main sponsor, Rossing Uranium, launched Project Shine for 2022-2023. The mayor of Oneuptwo, Dina Namibians, said that Project Shine has been successfully managed since it was first launched in 2007. According to her, the project has been running for more than 10 years, promoting cleanliness, recycling, and contributing to the social upliftment of the Oneuptwo community. Remember to engage with these stories on our social media throughout the broadcast. Visual news coming up after the break.
Flex is your health and fitness show that focuses on the health of the mind, body and spirit. If you would like to feature your brand or campaign on this platform, contact zone@synergy.com.na.
Getting into today's visual news clips, Rundu-based Labour consultant Linus Newumbo, during a stakeholder meeting on the labour unrest in Rundu, said that there are security companies that approach companies with low rates, which translates to security guards being underpaid. Kenya Kamboe reports.
You get a security company mushrooming in this town. They will go to the shop owner and say that I'll give you a low rate. They will kick the security company or the rate standing there because the rates are higher. Now remember one thing, that there is a minimum wage. How do you pay the guards minimum wage with a low income? This translates to the security guards to be underpaid. Do we cover this? Do the security unions address this issue? It is a daily occurrence. I'm having a meeting 2 o'clock with the unions about this issue. I'm not a union. Where are they? So we must not blame shifting here. Like Comrade Shindubi said, let's do our work and keep on blaming other people. Now what translates this? There is an infringement about the law on minimum wage. The Labour Office have less manpower to enforce this. Is it not translating to a labour unrest? It will be certainly.
Getting into our next video, anti-corruption activist Professor Chuma Nwokolo is one of the speakers at the transparency and whistleblowing discussion at the corporate governance Indaba taking place in Windhoek. Jemima Beekes reports.
The story starts when I was 2 years old. My father had his first profound experience with corruption. I'll tell you this if you promise not to tell anyone. My father sleeps in my village, my garden in the village, so he's not likely to hear it unless you tell him. So is that a promise? Yes. Thank you. So my father told me that when I was about 2 years old, I only had an elder sister. She just called when I was here. So my mother was going to take a test for a driving license. So when they got there, the two of us children were in the back of the car. My father was driving. The tester turned out to be my father's kinsman. Now you know how powerful it is when you get to a civil service office and there's a friendly face behind the door. That was it. My father was almost certain that he would get a license today. So my father and my mom went out to do the driving test with the tester, who was my father's kinsman. And when she got back, my father asked, will he get a license? The man was a very clever man. He asked my father, are those your children? He said, yes. And your wife will obviously do the school run? He said, yes. And he said to my dad, if you want a license right now, I'll give it to you. But if she's going to do the school run with your most precious children, I'll also give you a choice that she could come back next month and do the test, or you take the license right now, it's your call. And you can guess what choice my father took. So that's a profound experience with corruption. On that occasion, my father decided to come back the next month. But it's not every time corruption is spelled out to us in these terms, in which it shows our self-interest in not being corrupt. Most of the time, we settle for the four-wheel drive. Rather than fix the road, we'll take a four-wheel drive, we'll give our brothers and sisters and friends the four-wheel drives. Rather than fix the hospitals, we'll take a foreign trip abroad, right? Because corruption is a slippery road. But it's also a challenge for us to do the right thing. So our scenario today is about innovative solutions. So we talk about the main challenge we have, which is the issue of transparency and whistleblowing. We're talking about our contextualized scenarios. So we talk about our experience with corruption. We talk about our experience with whistleblowing. Now, one of the most interesting things we can do for ourselves is to consider the issue of our experience with artificial intelligence. If we ask...
In perhaps his second last State of the Nation address, the President boldly acknowledged that frustrated youths could easily be swayed into terrorism. More on this in the newspaper review segment when we return.
AgriMonitor is jou weeklikse landboukundige program wat jou die jongste nuus in die landbouverwante bedryf en onderwerpe wat daaraan gekoppel is bring. Vir enige advertensie of nuusverwante navraag, kontak agrimonitor@synergy.com.na.
Thank you for staying with MMH at 1. Let's take a look at what the lead stories are in Namibia's daily newspapers. The Namibian Sun reports that President Geingob yesterday stopped short of declaring a state of emergency over unemployment, but startlingly stated that heads of frustrated unemployed youth may turn to terrorism for survival. He said he's not keen on declaring youth unemployment a crisis because crisis management is a huge task. The president made these remarks when confronted by members of parliament about skyrocketing youth unemployment during his State of the Nation address yesterday. On the paper's page 3, the race is heating up for the position of Development Bank of Namibia CEO, with 5 candidates shortlisted to replace outgoing CEO Martin Nkumbi, who announced his resignation last August. Namibian Sun understands Presidential Economic Advisor and Hydrogen Commissioner James Munyupe, current DBN executives Jerome Mutuba, Robert Ayman and Saima Nimengombe, and City of Windhoek bean counter Jennifer Kamai are on the shortlist. Republican reports that the Chinese lithium miner Xinfeng Investments says that none of the lithium ore that is mined and stockpiled daily in the Okambahe Reserve in the Irongo region near Omaruru has yet to be exported. The reserve belongs to the Daure Daman Traditional Authority. On page 3, the Town Council of Oranjemund is aware of the challenges the coastal town faces with housing and land development. The council is currently working with stakeholders to serve land and especially build low-cost housing. On its front page, the Allgemeine Zeitung leads with an article that despite questions about the quality and safety of beef from north of the disputed Red Line, Omusati Governor Eginas Njala has confirmed that guests attending Independence Day celebrations in Oneuptwo next week will be supplied with beef from the region. On page 3, shortly before the completion, the mayor of the city of Windhoek, Joseph Uapingene, government officials, members of NamPower and other civil society representatives attended an event on the new embassy grounds to celebrate the installation of solar panels and sustainable design which took place in the newly constructed building. After the break, we continue with our newspaper review segment looking at the Namibian sun.
In Business 7, you get news on current economic, financial, and business matters in Namibia. The weekly show features interviews with experts and in-depth analysis of burning issues in a way that caters for ordinary Namibians and business connoisseurs alike. For news-related or advertising queries, please contact B7 at synergy.com.na.
Let's get into the second half of our newspaper review. The Namibian newspaper reports that the Namibia Students Financial Assistance Fund is planning to take 500 loan defaulters to court as it has been struggling for over a decade to get loan holders to repay the money. The acting chief executive officer of the Namibia Students Financial Assistance Fund, Kennedy Hamutenya, yesterday said they have names of debtors they took to their lawyers for the legal process to start. On page 3, Labour researcher Herbert Jalk says the Namibia Revenue Agency's decision to write off interest and penalties amounting to over 53 billion Namibian dollars by October next year will go a long way in providing relief to struggling small business and individuals. The measure forms part of the government's financial extension tax amnesty program, which seeks to recover the capital tax debt currently at 15.9 billion Namibian dollars. New Era reports that the United Kingdom is in the process of changing Namibian status due to the purported abuse of its asylum and other immigration laws. If Namibians want to visit the UK as tourists, they currently do not need to apply for visas, but this could soon change as some unscrupulous individuals stand accused of exploiting the status quo. On page 3, the Walvis Bay Municipal Council has set in motion plans to move the first 50 people from Walvis Bay to Farm 37 within the next few months. The council also indicated they will start with the registration of backyard squatters in Kiesepmund and Narreville within the next 2 weeks. Market Watch informs that the petrol price in South Africa could be hiked in the first week of April, but diesel and illuminating paraffin may become cheaper, the latest data from the Central Energy Fund shows. Petrol may be increased by around 25 cents a litre, while the wholesale price of diesel could be lowered by around 20 cents a litre. Illuminating paraffin could see a cut of around 68 cents a litre. Fuel prices, which will be adjusted on 5 April, are largely determined by the oil price as well as the rand, as oil is priced in dollar. Now, aligned with government initiatives, Mururoa says. More on this in economic news after the break.
Iranga Talk brings you community news in the Oranga region. For news-related or advertising queries, contact Iranga Talk at synergy.com.na. Iranga Talk, our community, your news.
In today's economic news, all players within the Namibia economy should align their efforts with government initiatives for reviving the economy. This was the message of the Managing Director of Nedbank Namibia, Martha Mururoa, at an economic discussion in Swakopmund on Wednesday, which centered around Finance Minister Ipumbushimi's recent budget statement. As we are all players in the Namibian economic environment, it is integral for us to familiarize ourselves with what our government, through the Ministry of Finance, is financially prioritizing so that we also understand what role we can play in that one thing that is common for all of us, to see the people of our country prosper, Mururoa said. Now let's take a look at the economic indicators. One US dollar trades for 80 Namibian dollars and 34 cents. The stock prices on the Namibia Stock Exchange remain unchanged, except for SBN Holdings taking a dip of 0.2%. Overall index is down by 0.49%, while the local index went down by 0.01%. Looking at commodities, gold is valued at $1,922 US, while Brent crude oil is valued at $75 US and 26 cents per barrel. Ugandan leader's son announces candidacy for president before withdrawing the tweet. Let's get into the full story after the break as we dive into African news.
The My.NA Cars Show provides viewers with the best in-class cars content, engaging interviews, as well as a showcase of the latest cars-related news, products, and services. If you would like to feature your brand or campaign on this platform, contact My.NA at synergy.com.na. My.NA Cars, more than just a ride.
We now expand beyond Namibia's borders to give you the latest news from the African continent. Starting us off, Ugandan leader Yoweri Museveni's son, Muhoozi Kainerugaba, announced his candidacy for the 2026 presidential election, saying it was time for our generation to shine before retracting his tweet on Thursday. Observers have long considered Muhoozi Kainerugaba, 48, who recently became embroiled in a diplomatic row with Kenya, to be tipped to take over, even though Kainerugaba said in 2013 that Uganda is not a monarchy. In the name of Jesus Christ, my God, in the name of all the youth in Uganda and the world, and in the name of our great revolution, I will run for president in 2026, Kainerugaba wrote on Twitter late Wednesday evening before removing his tweet from the social network. Yoweri Museveni, 78, who has ruled Uganda with an iron fist since 1986, may again run for president in the upcoming 2026 election. Armed forces in eastern Libya say they have found about 2.5 tons of uranium ore that were reported missing by the International Atomic Energy Agency. 10 drums containing the ore were found near the border with Chad, said the head of the force's media unit. The IAEA said it was actively working to verify media reports. The agency sounded the alarm after a visit by its inspectors earlier this week to the undisclosed site. The area was not in government-controlled territory. Uranium is a naturally occurring element that can have nuclear-related uses once it has been refined or enriched. The uranium which went missing could not be made into a nuclear weapon in the current state, but could be used as a raw material for a nuclear weapons program, experts told the BBC. In December 2003, under then military ruler Colonel Muammar Gaddafi, Libya publicly renounced nuclear, biological and chemical weapons. But since Colonel Gaddafi was deposed in 2011, the country has been divided into competing political and military factions. It is now split between an interim, internationally recognized government in the capital Tripoli and another one in the east. Neither is in control of the south, where the uranium was taken from. After the break, we get into our international news.
We are back again with another episode of your favorite show,
Scholars, Varsity and the Youth Generation through Zone, Varsity and School News. If you'd like to feature your brand or campaign on this platform, contact Zone at synergy.com.na.
In international news this afternoon, Indian police have arrested a man for posing as a senior official from Prime Minister Narendra Modi's office. Kiran Patel was on a visit to the Kashmir Valley on the 2nd of March when he was detained by security officials, the Press Trust of India reported. He was arrested the next day. Police have charged him with cheating, impersonation and forgery. A police complaint filed against him says Patel was trying to secure monetary and material benefits. Patel's arrest came to light on Thursday when he was produced in court court. He has a verified Twitter account and counts an official of the ruling Bharatiya Janata Party among his followers. Photos shared by Patel on his Twitter and Instagram pages show him on quote-unquote official visits to Kashmir surrounded by paramilitary guards. According to PTI, on one visit, Patel claimed he had been asked by the government to identify buyers for apple orchids in South Kashmir. On another visit, he traveled on the popular skiing destination Gulmarg and claimed the government had asked him to look into the improvement of hotel facilities in the area. Reports say Patel was given the highest level of security, traveled in a bulletproof car, and stayed at official accommodation at a 5-star hotel during his visits. Court documents reveal security officials found forged identity cards in his possession. After the break, we get into our local sports news. Stay tuned.
Kletskompas is 'n Afrikaanse kontinuïteitsprogram met Namibiese nuus en onderhoude. As jy jou handelsmerk of veldtog op hierdie platform wil vertoon, kontak klets@synergy.com.na.
Getting into our local sports news this afternoon, after 4 years and 126 one-day international cricket matches between 7 emerging nations, the ICC World Cup League 2 came to a dramatic finish on Thursday with a decisive win for Nepal against the United Arab Emirates. Consequently, Nepal overtook Namibia in third position and progressed directly to the World Cup qualifier in Zimbabwe this June, along with Scotland and Oman from League 2, the bottom 5 from the Super League, and 2 qualifiers from the playoff. School sports will come into focus this weekend as the Technical High School in Windhoek hosts its annual Henny de Waal Festival as a celebration of the country's independence. Netball teams will compete in the age groups under 15, under 17 and under 19, while the rugby competition includes under 15s and under 19s. The Namibia Rugby Union is hosting National Sevens trials for men at the Geingob Stadium, with 7 of the 8 Premier League clubs competing, with the exception of Grootfontein. The NRU has confirmed that David Philander will act as caretaker coach of the National Sevens team in their preparation for a tournament in June and July. Stick around after the break. International sports news. Western Province coach John Dobson says they are eager to make their loyal fans proud when they take on the Bulls in a Currie Cup clash in Pretoria on Friday night. WP opened their Currie Cup campaign with an impressive 44-28 win over the Lions in Johannesburg last weekend, while the Bulls were thumped 63-15 at home by the Pumas. English Premier League side Crystal Palace sacked manager Patrick Vieira earlier today, with the club on a nosedive towards the relegation places after a poor run of form left them 3 points above the drop. It is with enormous regret that this difficult decision has been made, said chairperson Steve Parrish. If you're just joining us, this is MMH at 1, and we will get into the highlights from today's broadcast shortly. But first, here are a few events that you might want to add to your social calendar this weekend.
Good day, NMH at 1 viewers. My name is Michael Kayunde. Welcome to another exciting segment of the Weekend Gig Guide. This is the segment where I get to let you know of the events that are happening in and around the country for the weekend. We kickstart with Chill Sessions, a show that you can catch tonight on Namibian Sun's Facebook page at 1900 hours. That's the show where I get to take you in and around the country, counting down the trending and latest music videos in Namibia for the week. You can also catch a repeat of that show, that is tomorrow on NTV at 7:30 in the morning. Moving along with other events that you can expect to check out this weekend, the crowning event of the 2023 Miss Supranational Namibia is taking place tomorrow. That is here in Windhoek at Safari Hotel at 18:30. Tickets are available through web tickets, so you can, make sure you grab those tickets and head to Safari Hotel tomorrow for the crowning of Miss Supranational Namibia 2023. Lastly, you can catch that is the opening of the exhibition at Arts Association Namibia of the artists that took place in the baking competition. That exhibition is going to be open until the 24th of March. So you are available to still, even make your way there sometimes next week to catch that exhibition. From me, Michael, that's all I had for you for this weekend. Until next time, it's bye-bye.
Take a load off and tune into another episode of Brave Namibia, as we take a look at both ordinary and extraordinary Namibians. Brave Namibia is broadcasted on NTV Saturdays at 6:30 p.m. and Oneuptwo.com, as well as broadcasted on the following Facebook platforms on Wednesday at 5:30 p.m. Republican, Allgemeine Zeitung, Namibian Sun, and all Namibia Media Holdings pages. For more information, contact the Brave team at brave@synergy.com.na. Brave Namibia, for the ordinary and extraordinary Namibians.
Kom kuier gerus elke Vrydag aan saam met Arjougaard, waar hy vooruitskouing doen van wat op die sportvelde reg oor die wêreld gaan plaasvind. Daar word op die naweek se top internasionale sportgeleenthede gefokus en plaaslike sport in Namibia asook Suid-Afrika word in oënskou geneem. Die kenners praat saam en huidige asook oud spelers gee hul mening en ons hoor grootlik sommer uit die spreekwoordelike perd se bek. Niemand weet met sekerheid wat die naweek op die sportveld gaan gebeur nie, maar iemand weet wel watter faktore die uitslae kan beïnvloed. Ons praat met daardie iemand wat weet, en soms word geheim ook uitgelaat. Vrydaande is ons in die tonnel gereed om uit te draf. Dit is jou Vrydag afspraak wat jou ingelig gaan hou alvordat die spelers uit die tonnel opdraf. Sport is ons passie. Sien jou in die tonnel.
You're watching MMH at 1. If you're just joining us, let's take a look at the news highlights. Ugandan leader Yoweri Museveni's son Muhoozi Kainerugaba announced his candidacy for the 2026 presidential election, saying it was time for a generation to shine before retracting his tweet on Thursday. Indian police have arrested a man for posing as a senior official from Prime Minister Narendra Modi's office. Kian Patel was on a visit to the Kashmir Valley on 2nd of March when he was detained by security officials. In sports, school sports will come into focus this weekend as the Technical High School in Windhoek hosts its annual Henny de Waal Festival as a celebration of the country's independence. Those have been your highlights. Remember to tune in every weekday at 1 p.m. to spend your lunch hour with MMH at 1, catching up on the latest news in Namibia, Africa and the world, ranging from current affairs, economic news, sports and international headlines. That's it from all of us here in studio, wishing you a lovely weekend ahead.